I'm back. Well, what have we got today? Well, something a rather bit different, but still audio based and could be very useful to some people. Ah, there you are. I wondered where you'd got to. You know how it goes sometimes. People get lost in here. Anyway, what are we here for today? Well, we've got this thing called a Sound Blaster X5. Now, the Sound Blaster X5, you might say as a guitarist or musician, what use is that to me? Well, I hate to say it, but it could be useful to you. For starters, it comes from Creative Labs. It's a Sound Blaster X5, which is one of the newer or newest products that they've got. And it's dual DAC, if you know what a DAC is. Yeah, digital to analog converters. Anyway, more about that as we move through the review. And yeah, it all looks very nice, I have to say. Now listen, I go back a long way with Creative Labs, believe it or not. I go back into it must be the 80s. Yeah, it must be. Yeah, you lose track of time when you're like me. But don't worry about that. Some things you always remember. And Creative Labs is one of them things I remember from being in IT and technology since about 1981. And that's a long time in IT and technology. And Creative Labs, as I said, was one of those fond memories of using their equipment through the years. Yeah, very interesting stuff. And Sound Blaster is a name that, once again, it's up here forever. Back in the day, they probably still do this, by the way. They probably are the best. But back in the day, they certainly were the best. I don't know of every last competitor out there. But to me, that is a very high quality company. And they don't make junk. So it's worth watching the review. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. Let's point out, let's take a look at what we've got. Now, just before I do go down and unbox it and do the rest, listen, Creative Labs sent me this for free. Yeah, for free. It's only the second item I've ever reviewed for Creative Labs. But this one anyway, at the very least, they sent it to me for free to review. Now, I don't mind sending items back afterwards. It's not a problem for me. So I don't really gain particularly from receiving one of these. Although it's great because on 99% of the reviews I make, I buy everything. Every last thing, just as an ordinary customer. I'm nothing special, am I? I'm just like you. And that's what makes my channel a little bit better or different than all the others. So I wanted to get that out of the way. My review will be entirely truthful, no matter what comes out, good, bad or indifferent. So always remember that about my stuff. Anyway, let's get on with it and do the unboxing, right? I can't wait, can you? Well, here it is. This is as it comes in a very nice looking box. That's what it looks like, but let's whip her out and see what we get. I've never really done anything with this since it arrived, so don't assume that Tony's already looked at it. I know much about this product, well, basically, as you do. So let's pour her out. Oh, what'd you get? Well, you get the unit itself. There it is. More in a moment. You get a Sound Blaster quick start guide. Yeah, over there. Oh, look. A light pipe. Yeah. Creative included with instructions. Yeah, all very nice. And you get a bundle of cables, as you usually do on the Creative stuff. And that's it. I can put all this back in and we can go and have a look at what we really get. Okay, you get those cables I was talking about. There's like a USB to C and there's some audio cables in there. You get the light pipe. Some people call them different things, but there it is, included. The quick start guide, and over here the unit itself. Let's pull that out. Oh, here it is. What a nice looking device it is. Yeah, it's almost like a hi-fi, isn't it? Well, you could almost call it a hi-fi. Okay, well, here's a sort of quick shot of the device itself, and don't worry about this across the front, how it's sort of flickering on and off. That's just a feature of the camera, I'm afraid. That's what you get on camera, but I can tell you that looking at it from where I am, it is absolutely as rock solid as they come. So, yeah, all that'll be all good the further we go. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see a bit of something on it, but don't worry about the flickering. It's not there on the device. Let's go a bit closer and have a look at what we've actually got. Okay, well, let's have a look across the front of the device and the various things that are on here. Well, it's great to see that there's actually a power button, because on a lot of devices that I get to look at, particularly in the guitar world, a lot of the units just don't have on and off buttons, and it's a bit crazy, that is. Anyway, on this one, there it is, all nice and simple. You can turn it off and you can turn it on. All very, very simple. Moving along a bit, we've got a little button here that's actually a microphone mute or unmute. It's got a little LED on it, and if we was to hit that, you can see that the LED comes on. And hit it again and the LED goes off. It's all very nice. Above that, we've got a Bluetooth button with a LED. Again, it's not actually connected to anything at the moment, so when you see an unknown in there, don't worry about that too much. We'll come back to that later for a proper review close-up. Yeah, so you've got the Bluetooth button with its LED when it's showing you the connectivity and the rest of it. Now, at the side of this mic button, we've got a mic volume. There it is, and we can turn that up and turn that down so easily. Yeah, if you're looking at this next one, this is normal or high gain, and again, you're just flipping this up or down for whatever result you're looking for. How simple's that? This next one here is just the display. You can see it looks as if it's flickering and the rest of it, like I've said, but in reality, it's far from flickering. It's not flickering at all. Next button we've got along is the headphone or speaker switch button, so we can have it on headphones or speaker, just right off the cuff. This next one here is the mic input port, so you can have an external mic if you want. It's a small connection, but for this type of device, well, that's more what I'd expect to see. Hi-fi sort of quality type of product, really. The next one we've got is a direct or DSP button, and that's for switching the modes. Next one along is an EQ button, as you can see. Very simple, on or off. What more can you ask for? Headphone out, balanced or not balanced. We've got a PC or console, so you can take your pick on that. And we've also got the great big giant volume control knob with a LED. Let's have a look around the back. Okay, round the back here, pretty self-explanatory really. We've got line out, which is the right. We've got line out, which is the left. We've got line in, which is the right, and line out, which is the left. We've got a Toslink, that's what they call them, a Toslink optical output. I call them light pipe ports myself sometimes. You'll hear me saying that. It's because I've been looking at that stuff for a long time. So we've got the optical or Toslink out, an optical or Toslink in. We've got a USB connector here and a USB host connector. Now, the USB-C allows for the data transfers and all that sort of stuff. And on this USB host, this big one here, it's a USB-A host audio streaming port, and it needs 100 milliamps. Yeah, I can tell you that. 100 milliamps, 5 volt, and it's DC. We've got other things on the back which you might not be able to see too well, but across the back here you've got all the CE approvals, you've got a UKCA, You've got, in fact, ROSH compliance and lots of other credibility types of certification for safety and the rest of it. And that's always a great thing to see. And I can tell you that right off the bat that Creative Labs will be fully, totally good with all that. Yeah. Oh, just before I do go back, this USB-C, you can also use that for power, for powering the device as I did. I just didn't mention that to you. But it does work fine from a USB power connector. Now then, all good so far. I couldn't really pull this apart far enough to show you the chips inside, so what I will do is I'll have a little chat about the chips that they use rather than showing you the actual ones inside, because I don't really want to damage the unit. It's a really great, a very good quality unit, and yeah, I can go and find the details from elsewhere with a bit of luck. At least I think I can. Do bear in mind that with this device there is some downloadable software that allows you to control it all and things like that, which is very nice, and they make that downloadable app for a PC or a Mac or iOS or Android if you want it on a phone type of thing. And don't forget it can connect with Bluetooth and stuff like that. So overall, quite a nice little device that we're going to get to look at a little bit closer with the software. Yeah, I always like to show that sort of stuff. It's not always so easy to demonstrate it online, but I'll do my best. And I've got a grandson that's into a lot of that sort of stuff as well, so maybe he will appear or not. Anyway, I'll go and find the software and pull it down to the PC, and then we can go a bit further. Yeah, it's exciting. You know, Creative Labs always do make really good equipment, and yeah, I've just known them so long. Sound Blaster, oh yeah. Anyway, I'll go and find the software and we'll be back in a moment. Okay, well here we are looking at the Sound Blaster X5, and as you can see with the software, you've got basically the sound mode. We'll come back to. We've got an acoustic engine, an equalizer, crystal voice. We've got a direct mode. We've got scout mode, which again, more about that later, and a mixer. So we have a whole pile of different things that we can basically go and look at in this software, and it is quite extensive. So, you know, then you've got this bit on the left-hand side where you've got a playback recording and various settings. If I just click the settings for a second or two, you can see there's a load to go at, but we'll come back to that. Well, maybe we will. So let's take a look at some of these choices that we've got down this side. First of all, you've got the device, which is shown on the screen there, Sound Blaster X5, all very good. We've got various sound modes that I'll come back to in a moment. We can set this unit up into either playback or recording mode. So we've got playback mode. These are the options you've got. You've got an audio quality for the speakers, it says there. Well, speakers. 32-bit 48 kilohertz, and it goes 32, 30, 352, 800 hertz, so it goes down, high, and so on and so forth. You choose what you need. For the headphones, here's another little bit. We're on headphones at the moment on this particular setup, and the headphone selection, there are a number of headphones that you can use, but sadly, well, I thought sadly, the particular DT880 Bayer Dynamic Pro headphones I'm using, they don't seem to have on there. So I've left mine at default. Why not? That's what I say. And if you were to choose the speakers, you've got here stereo, speaker type, this is bookshelf, headphone virtualization's turned off, and all the rest of it. Again, you can whip through these options, of which there are a number. I'm not going to go into them because, well, that's not what we're using. We're using this one. Yeah. You can do a quick test. You might hear it. Let's do that again.
Left channel, right channel.
You might just hear that in the background. That's just through my headphones and what you can hear that's spilling out. Yeah, I don't intend to have the hi-fi particularly blaring out at this point. So that's the playback, and you can set defaults and so on and so forth. On the recording side of things, we can do, basically, you've got a number of interfaces here: SPDIF, line, microphone, and what you hear. If we choose one, you can see we can go 16-bit 48 kilohertz, well 48 kilohertz, all the way up to 192 kilohertz on 24-bit. And just trust me, that's about as far as you'd ever want to go. Well, it is for what I'd want. Even in the studio here, we wouldn't particularly go to the sort of height of the echelons that can go to on any of these. I think it's more than what I'd need, let's put it that way. And then you've got down the bottom here, you've got some settings. Again, the pretty self-explanatory really. We've got a sound blaster. You can reset the device if we wanted to. We can turn the display on and off on the unit itself from either bright, dark, auto or off. I tend to leave it on auto myself, and it seems to work very nicely. Some people don't want the display on, if you're using this for other things rather than studio work, which is some of the things that we'd be doing with it, well then you might not want that display on, yet other people might want it on all the time. So there's your choice. There's a bit here for the driver for the device, and this one's 2.0.6.0. If you choose your little information bit there, it'll tell you when it was last checked and all that sort of good stuff, you know what I mean. You can click it and check now. You can even look at the version history. I can set this up so that if the driver's changed, I can auto-download the driver, things like that. The Bluetooth at the moment isn't connected, but I'm going to show you about that in a short while. We can reconnect to the last used, which is quite useful because I've already connected once with my Apple. Okay, we can update the firmware as well, and I can tell you that I did update the firmware on this, and I recommend on any device that's can connect to the internet and download the latest firmware. I'd always get the latest firmware because, well, what happens is this firmware fixes various bugs and things like that. And if you don't do that, well, you might be running a system that's got the particular problem that you end up with, and you wonder, you'll consider that the equipment isn't really very good, when in reality all it is a bit of a firmware or even a driver, an audio driver. Yeah, so all them things matter. But down the bottom, the other thing I like to see here is a contact us and contact technical support, and it's all very good and nice and easy. Right down in the left here, we've got headphones and speakers we can flip, and I've got a volume, and I have mine on 100% because I'm just sort of running it as some headphones that I'm not actually wearing at the moment, but I will be later. Yeah, hopefully that's good so far. Let's go back to device. Okay, let's take a quick look at this sound mode section. Now the sound mode section really is all about various profiles that have been preset up, generally by Creative, but you can see you can sort of store them and go back and all sorts of things. Let's click it down and have a look there. And you can see we can turn the effects off, or we can have effects on for gaming, for music, for movies, for adventure and action. I'll carry on down them. Apex Legends, Battle Royale, Call of Duty series, Counter-Strike Global Offensive or whatever that is, Cyberpunk 2077, I've got that myself, Death Stranding, Doom Eternal, and on the go. There's loads of stuff. As I said, it does go a long way. And you can see there are actually a lot of games, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six and so on and so forth. I really want it on music myself. And there they are. Yeah, all these comprise of that, if you follow what I'm saying. And the screen just flashed up and said, yes, it's set up for music, which is EQ1, music, blah, blah, blah. All nice and simple. Well, it is so far. And it saves such a lot of time of, you don't have to set anything up here. And that's the really good thing about it, but you could. Okay, so looking at the section here that we have on the device when I've chosen music, these are the various parameters. So if I chose a different one, for example, like movies, well, it might look the same, but in reality it is different. And it's set up for whatever it is you've chosen. I'll stick with music for now, because that's what we're using. You can see down here you've got a thing called an acoustic engine. Well, let's have a quick look at that. So these are controls that will affect the tone no matter what you say and what you do. And we can turn them on and off. As you can see there, I've got options for headphones or speakers. I'll flip across or flip across. So I can leave it as it is, basically, a default. I just want to really show you. And we can see on this one, it's set up for a surround of 50%. We can move it up and down, all nice and easy. And we can turn it off and turn it on. Very easy. We have a crystallizer, and it says here, it makes music sound as good as the artist originally intended by ensuring that every audio detail is heard. All great stuff. Now, some people might want that on, and if you're in a studio, you really might not want that on, but that's a matter of subjectivity. Moving along, you've got a bass, smart volume, and a thing called Dialogue Plus. And if we look at bass, well, that includes the bass. It's like a gain, expanding the low frequency tones. Moving on to the smart volume, intelligently minimizes abrupt volume changes by automatically adjusting the loudness of your audio playback. Well, they're all very good if you've got a requirement for them in the thing you're in. Obviously, if you're in the games section, oh my God, it's awesome. We've also got this Dialogue Plus. As I said, it intelligently enhances voices in music and movies for dramatically clearer voice range. So you can see there in this acoustic engine, we've got various amounts of control of different things. If I was to go back, let's have a look. What's it we got in gaming? Have a look in there. See, it's changed. It's all different, if you will. I just wanted to show you that. So that's the acoustic engine and some of the things you can do with that. Okay, you can see here on the screen we've got an equalizer set up for gaming. Now, I'm going to go and have a look at it in gaming rather than just the music. We'll just click it for now, and you can see that it has an on-screen pattern. But on the right-hand side, you've got a preamp adjuster. We can take that up or down. We've got a bass and a treble adjuster, and we can take them up and down. We can even save if you look at that thing on the right hand side of the screen. So on EQ1, which is set up for onboard, it says, well, let's go to EQ3. This is specifically for the likes of games. The middle one's for movies. You saw it change. And the onboard, which is one I've used quite a lot actually, yeah, it's all good. You can change whatever you like to whatever you fancy, really, and you can store them, so it's all good. You can turn the EQ, of course, on or off. Very easy. What more can I say? Just a very good EQ. Now, just before I do actually move away from this, there is some information I could give you. I can tell you that the frequency bands go from 31 down here all the way up to 16 kilohertz. You can see it across the screen. We didn't see the 31. And the EQ applies to basically headphone and speaker outputs separately. Bear that in mind. So it's currently sitting here on the headphones at the minute. But that's just a little snippet I wanted to mention. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the crystal voice section. Here it is. At the moment it's turned off while the noise reduction is. Actually, it looks to me like everything's turned off there. And it's for good reason, because I haven't got a microphone plugged in. I just want to run through the software and show you some of the features that are there. So if we turn the noise reduction on, there it is. It's sitting in the middle. And that reduces static background noise on outgoing audio during conference calls and stuff like that. So yes, you could use it for conference calls connected to your PC, in and out and so on and so forth. So if you're working from home, for example, You could work with headphones, microphone, and yeah, you've got the audio covered. Yeah. Let's turn that back off. Further down here, we've got acoustic echo cancellation. You know that annoying thing where you get an echo and it'll go down the line and come back. So it's a horrible noise, isn't it? We all know it. And flipping this will get rid of that. Yeah, really, really simply. If you look at the smart volume, it says there, be heard clearly without having to shout or whisper. So it's going to adjust your volume up and down. Yeah, depending on how loud you speak or how quiet you speak. So it tries to achieve a nice level of audio. Again, if you're working with this device from home, a lot of people do that these days. This could be a really useful device for that sort of thing, particularly if you're speaking to customers and at the front end of aggro and all that sort of stuff. But if you're in a studio, well, you probably wouldn't use some of these things that I'm showing you. Well, I wouldn't personally be using them. We've got a voice morphia. And if you look at the options, we've got male, female, kid, elderly. Deep voice is probably more, unstable, dwarf, demon, orc, you name it, they're in here. I was looking for the wife actually, but I can't see her. They missed out there, didn't they? Now lastly, down here we've got the microphone equalizer. If I turn that on, you can see it here what it says. Preset 1, reduce the bass, the harshness, and improve clarity. And we've got a number of presets. I can see at least 6 there. Well, actually there's 11. I won't run through all of those, but you can see we've got reduced bass, improved vocal and clarity, reduced bass, improved vocal and improved vocal, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to sit here all day doing that, but you can see for number 10, all that one does is improve clarity. So there. So I'll turn that all back off. That's crystal voice, and obviously if you're not using a microphone, well, you probably wouldn't do much with that. Well, I know you wouldn't. Let's go back. This is direct mode. We can see it down here. I just click that. Doesn't really tell you much because there isn't much to say, I guess. Now in the direct mode, all it does really is it gets rid of everything else, like the effects and all that sort of stuff, and it sort of feeds the DACs absolutely direct. So what you're really getting is, well, the digital signal processing and the rest of that also is at its purest or its cleanest. It's directly from the DAC to the headphone and or speaker out, depending on what you're routed to and all the rest of it. But it can be to both, do remember that. I tend to leave that off for now, but that's just for now while you're doing a quick demo. Next mode is the scout mode, and you can see it there and you can say to yourself, oh my God, Tony, what's a scout mode? Well, if we have a look at that, it says here, you've got to look at it quite close, I'm afraid, but that's life. It's designed to help you hear beyond what you see, such as footsteps, speech, weaponry handling, acoustic characteristics, without involving the use of explicit frequency shaping for a complete gaming experience. Yes, you're right. It's really for gaming. And personally, I don't really see that much of a use for it other than for gaming, but there's a lot of guys that use sound blasters for gaming. My grandson, he loves it. He'd leave this on all the time for the stuff he does. And that's great. If that's your bag, if that's what you want to do, then that's a really useful little option. And you just turn it on like that. You can even assign a hotkey so you can turn this feature on and off at will. Not that I will. But when you're in some of the games, what you'll find is that with this scout mode turned on, just like so, with that turned on, well, basically what you're having is people that sound as if they're behind you or at the side of you. That sort of thing. It's quite an interesting little section. Scout mode's been around from Creative Labs for a while. I looked at a piece of equipment some while back, I think. My recollection is that it's got scout mode on it, and my grandson was playing with that. Well, that's what he's like. What do you want for a sort of 16-year-old? That's what they do. Well, here in the studio, I wouldn't particularly have a use for that, although it depends what you're doing in the studio, of course. On some work you might do, I've got Alan Bruce, my friend and cohort, I'll call him that. Hi Al. Yeah, well that might be useful because he does a lot of theatre stuff, and we have audio in the back of a new play that Alan's developed from Burner Street album I did with him some years back. And that's all about, well, basically Jack the Ripper and that sort of thing. And it's turned into a theatre show. And that's coming out in Stoke-on-Trent in about, I think, September, October, November this year, something like that. It was put back a while because of the COVID and all the rest of it. But it's on its way in. And, you know, a lot of these features, well, I'm not specifically using them on this demonstration. They could be very useful, like horses walking down the cobbled path and all that sort of stuff. And you can really get into that in the recording studio, you know. Okay, well, here we are back at the top, so to speak, and yeah, we've got this little mixer down the side here. If we click that. The mixer section is where you can adjust all the inputs and outputs individually. So whatever you want to do with it, there's the speaker playback. You just adjust what you like to whatever you fancy. You might want a bit of this up a bit, or the line's not this, or it's not that. You get the idea. Most people will understand what this is about. The microphone's turned off there. You see? So, yeah, all very interesting, all very simple. Let's have a look at device. I'm on a stereo mix in a minute. But you've got this other option here with this SPDIF pass-through. Stereo mix on the recording of the audio output, or line out, and headphone jack. The maximum playback resolution on optical out is 24-bit, 192 kilohertz, and that's exceedingly high. Well, it is where I come from. When it's in direct mode, there is no audio heard if a higher resolution is selected. It probably can't quite handle that, but well, it handles it, but you don't hear it. There's a subtle difference. Yeah, in any case, there it is, all adjustable, all very nice, and as well as very nice, it's all actually very simple. You notice you've got this edit button over here, and you can turn some of these off if you're never going to use them. Just leave them as they are. Which is, again, a useful feature. It makes everything nice and simple, especially when we move further on to other stuff, which is any time now. Okay, well, here's the Sound Blaster X5 top screen that we've been looking at, well, for some while. I could have gone down the microphone direction and all the rest, but it doesn't really matter because all I want to do is to give you really a good insight into some of the features that are there, rather than sitting here for about 6 hours demonstrating them all out. That's not what it's really about. And equally, I don't want to go to the nth degree, literally the nth degree, of being entirely technical, like some people do that. I'm going to cover the chips as well a little bit later, but not in any hyper depth. I'll cover the DACs, of course, and maybe a processor or something like that. But it won't be that much, just enough to give you a flavour of how good this particular headphone unit is. But it isn't just for headphones, of course. You've got speakers in there, you've got all the I/O and all that other nice stuff that it doesn't matter what environment you're in, whether you're in games, whether you've got it set up for movies and that sort of stuff in your house, or headphones like what I'm using currently, you know, maybe in a studio or something like that. It can meet all the requirements one way or another, and I think that's actually a very interesting thing. What I'm going to do now is move on to the cell phone, the mobile phone, and show you some of what I can do with that on there. Okay, well, here we are. We've got the mobile phone, or cell phone as some people call it, and yeah, I've got some tracks on there and stuff like that, and what I've done is sort of paired the unit here. You can see you've got Bluetooth on. It's been paired to this device. You can move your display around and stuff like that, but if I just have a quick look at this, we go in here, you can see that The sound blaster itself has been paired. It's all connected very nicely. It worked first go, by the way. And really, if I come back to the music, if I want to play some music, well, I've got lots of tracks in here, but these are some tracks that I did some years back that were never released, really. So here's one of them. It's not going to be hyper loud on the screen, by the way. I don't want you to think that it is, because it's not aimed at doing that type of demonstration, really. But there it goes. Can you hear that? Let's get the headphones over.
I don't mind the way you hang at your hair.
Okay, well, you get the idea of that. And there it is, streaming across. Now, you can get an app, for I'm told, to control everything from this. And I'm going to go and take a look, see if I can find that now. And we'll be back in a moment. I'll either find it or I won't. Well, there you go. In reality, I couldn't actually find the app. I know it's there somewhere, but there's an X7 one sitting here on the Apple Store type of thing for download. So I'm not going to really go into great depths with that, except to say there is one, it does work, and it is available, so they tell me, for Android and iOS. I can't sort of find it. But there you go. I can still connect to this device and do all the stuff. There it goes. This one. You can just about hear it. Trust me, in reality, you put the headphones on, it's blowing your head off. Well, you could go through speakers and all the other sort of things. So enough of that for now. I've sort of showed you quickly that it basically works. So there. Let's go back up. Ah, there you are. I wonder where you'd got to. Yeah, very interesting to have a play around with. And you can do a lot of stuff within this software, and that's the important thing about it, really. It's quite a powerful device, and while it's a very powerful device, it's got dual DACs and all the rest, but we're going to speak about that, well, any second now. So let me get set back up as we should be, and move some of this clutter out the way, and we'll get on with the review. There it is, the Creative Labs X5, Sound Blaster X5, and it's quite a powerful device, there's no doubt about that, but what I did want to talk about, really the DACs. There's two of them in there, or digital to analog converters. And I've got a little piece of paper down here. I can't remember all this top of my head. You might, but I can't. It's basically a Cirrus Logic device. You might see it down there somewhere on the screen, or something like that. Or an example of what they look like. Not that that really matters. But basically the Cirrus Logic CS43198 is the device. That's two of them inside, and I know there is because I've seen them elsewhere. I couldn't really get mine open enough to be able to, well, show you properly. That little thing down there is probably good enough for me and you. Let's just talk about it for a few seconds, because these DACs are really part of the main reason for buying this sort of piece of gear. Yeah, it says here it's a high performance 32-bit resolution stereo audio DAC that supports up to 384 kHz sampling frequency with pseudo differential analog outputs, it tells me. Sounds awesome. The advanced 32-bit oversampled multi-bit modulator with mismatch shaping technology eliminates distortion due to on-chip component mismatch. Proprietary digital interpolation filters support 5 selectable filter responses with pseudo-linear phase and ultra-low latency to minimize pre-echoes and ringing artifacts. An on-chip programmable filter is available for further response customization. Sounds awesome to me. Other features include volume control with 0.5 dB steps, wideband flatness mode support, and digital de-emphasis for 44.1 kHz sample rate. The patented on-chip DSD processor, and this is per chip, remember, preserves audio integrity by allowing signal processing such as volume control and 50 kHz Scarlett Book recommended filtering to be applied directly to the DSD stream without an intermediate decimation stage. Additional features like volume matching and channel mixing enable seamless transition between DSD and PCM playback paths. The direct DSD mode is also provided to bypass the DSD processor. I can carry on with it, but it's a pretty endless document. This is page 1 out of about 30 pages, just for one DAC chip, and there are 2 in there. It's pretty awesome, really. 130 decibel, 32-bit, high-performance DAC with pseudo-differential outputs. It's exceptional, and I won't bore you more with it. I just wanted to cover what you're really buying, as opposed to what you think you might be buying. Oh, it's just another box, it's just a this or just a that. Well, no, it isn't. And it's probably, to be honest, this box is probably one of the best ones that Creative have come up with. Yeah, or better ones. I don't think there's anything better than this for a sort of headphone type of amp, for example. You put your speakers on it and all the rest, but I don't think they make anything particularly better than this. And, if you've got a really good one of these, you'll get really good results. If you've got a junky one from somebody else, well, and you've got a junky one, haven't you? Yeah, you'll regret it later. It is always good policy to pay an extra little bit of money and get a better device if you can afford it. That's what I think anyway. In my studio here, this is a great device because it's at the upper echelons of where you can go with a headphone amp like this. Yeah, awesome. And although that DAC chip isn't that expensive by itself, I think you can buy them for £10 or £11 a piece if you were buying thousands of them. It isn't that matters, it's the whole solution that matters. And of course the software that goes with it. And the PC software that I used just worked first go. It was really good. And so did the Apple Connect first time. And I've had problems with other devices from other people. Not necessarily headphone amps and things like that, but from other people that should know better. This failed. But for this device, really good, really simple. Now there are a few things, well at least I think there are a few things that were a bit strange. It's not a criticism, it's just a question that it's not what I thought it would be. In this respect, I've got a set of headphones here. These are Beyerdynamic. These are DT880 Pros, and to be honest, these are some of the great headphones we use in the studio for monitoring and mastering and mixing and all that stuff. Really, really well-known headphones. Now you might argue that, oh, well, those headphones aren't, they're not used by the most people, which might be the case if you don't use this in a studio. It might be the case. But I don't know, these are pretty well-known headphones. Maybe not the best for hi-fi enthusiasts, maybe. But in a studio environment, but I would have expected them to be inside that unit as an option, and they're not there as an option, so I'd have to choose one of the others, and I ended up with just the default. And that was a little point I wanted to raise about the headphones. Now, I haven't actually connected the USB-A port into my desk as such. I could be here for weeks doing reviews, but it can stream audio straight off in, and basically I could, I'm not going to, but I could stream the output into the recording desk and then capture it in the DAW software, for example. So if you get any studio guys who want to get into those sort of extra special effects, a bit like some of the things that are in here, like having the people walking behind you type of thing that they have on the games, that could be a very, very useful effect. And there are a lot of effects, type of effects, that can, allow this unit to stand out a little bit if you're involved in more than just everyday music. Let me put it that way. So it really does have a place. And of course, if you're somebody that's like a hi-fi buff and you use headphones a lot, you want this. And if you play games, it's an awesome device for games too, and it doesn't let you down. There's no X-Fi on this one, I notice, but I wouldn't worry too much about that because all of the features that are on it really do sound good. I've tried them on a couple of games and it's awesome. You get your cans out. And one of the things I haven't mentioned is the actual output to headphones, and it's a headphone amp. I shouldn't be talking about that really. Well, good news. If you've got this stuff being used, whether it's for games, for music, whether it's for in the studio, all the rest of it, all the places where you could put this, you're going to be a happy chappy, as they say in England. Yeah, I've got some notes down here about the outputs. And for the unbalanced ones, the maximum output is 29 milliwatts at 600 ohms, which is really high gain. And on the balanced headphone output, it's 114 milliwatts at 600 ohms high gain, which is going to blow your head off, really. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, that's all I can say about it. Great little device. So what about the build quality of this thing? Well, I only got it so far apart, and I couldn't really get any further with it. I would have liked to have done that, but I did see the bottom of the PCB and that sort of thing, and the quality to me was nice. And I like this design. This, some people might say, oh, it's just plastic. People are like that. But if it was metal, would it really be any different? Well, no, it wouldn't. It'd probably just cost you more money. So I think it's a reasonable move to have something like this. After all, it looks pretty, certainly sounds pretty, but it would work in many environments. It's pretty tough stuff. You're not going to break it anytime soon. That's the sort of thing that you might consider if you can throw it around a bit. But a lot of people will buy this not to throw around a bit, and it's perfectly fine in the materials that it's got, in my opinion. Yeah, but that's just my opinion. Look, I've still got this thing turned up full. I was doing some tests. And one thing I have mentioned, I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier when we were looking at the software. I did upgrade this to the latest firmware and the latest version of software. And when I was using it, I had no sort of software problems or what else, Bluetooth type of problems, disconnected. Well, fine, if you want the truth. So nothing like that came along for me, and I think that's important. Oh, one thing on the Bluetooth, it only supports a thing called SBC. Yeah, it doesn't support most of the other type of features and things that you might expect on Bluetooth. But the Bluetooth aspect for me, in my circumstance, it worked fine. Yeah, if you're an audio guy, an audio enthusiast, you might not be too happy about that. But really, the truth is, for somebody like me in here, I wouldn't have really cared less. It's perfect for what I'd use it for in a studio and what you might use it for at home. Guitarists, you can say, well, I don't need one of them. But, well, you might play games as well and things like that. So it has, more than one use. If you don't have a studio, you might have a home studio or whatever. Now, with a device like this, I can't really show you every feature that's out there. I could literally spend days on it, and that's never going to happen because I just don't have the time. But what I would say about it, its pricing is not the cheapest thing around, but in the same context, you are getting a dual DAC device, and for some people that's very, very important. For the gamers, well, you know what they are like. they're gonna love it, and if you're a hi-fi buff, well, I don't know the answer to that because I'm not one of them. But using it in the studio here would not really be much of a problem to me, and I could sort of stream through it. But would I use the microphone? Well, not really, but be good for monitoring. Depends what you want to do, and you could put those effects to good use. It says here it's 32-bit, 384 kilohertz on PCM playback. It's 130 dB DNR. Its audio formats is DOP128 and DSD256. It's got two Cirrus Logic DACs that I've already said, CS43198s. Its THD plus N is minus 115 decibels, to, oh my God, 0.00018%, which is really low. ASIO 2.2 for playback and recording. There's lots of other information I could reel off as I look through this, but I don't really want to do all that. Silky smooth sound, it says here. Have a go at silky smooth audio that satisfied even the most demanding desires for pro audio users. Well, if it can do that, matey, it's plenty good enough for me. And the likes of people like me, that guitarist type guys, or small studio, or well, maybe even a big studio, it's got features in there that could be difficult to copy with other equipment. Let's put it that way round. Yeah, great with studio grade headphones. It is, but it doesn't support mine. Come on, boys. Fully balanced headphones by amp. I haven't got any fully balanced headphones. Sorry, I couldn't tell you about them. Supports virtual surround, and it definitely does do that. Yeah, all very good. Okay, well, here I am. So, how much does this darn thing cost? Well, I think it's about 300 and... There's a few variable prices. I've seen it at $299. Well, in any case, it's in that ballpark, no matter how I look at it. Well, is it worth the money? Well, I would say that it probably is worth the money, depending on who and what you are, right? For me, personally, I wouldn't really use it that much in the studio personally, because I tend to record rock music and stuff like that. But if you were somebody that was doing that other stuff that I talked about earlier on, with the likes of Alan Bruce and, you know, theatre work and background audio and all sorts of things like that, this could be a great asset. It really could. If you're into games, well, Creative Labs, Sound Blasters come from the games. There's no getting away from that, and it's probably as good as you could buy for that. For the audiophiles, well, again, I'm not an audiophile, but it's got a lot of features in there that, well, I've never seen anywhere else, but I can't speak for audiophiles. But it may be quite a good device. It wants checking out, and that's what I would recommend you do, really, if you're an audiophile. Just take my word for it on the other aspects because, well, I've tried them. Now then, what about warranty? You know, to me, warranty is always very important. And warranty says a lot about a manufacturer. In my opinion, it does. If you've got a warranty that's like, I don't know, 6 months or something, it doesn't say much for the manufacturer and their understanding of their product and it's how long it's going to last. In the case of this device, it comes normally with 1 year, it says in here, I think it was, or I saw it somewhere. But it then went on to say, oh yeah, but if you're in Europe, you get a 2-year warranty. Well, that's confusing in the UK because, well, the UK isn't in Europe any longer. So is it 1 year or is it 2? My guess is they'll probably make it 2 because UK law is still remaining in 2023, very similar to what European law is. It will change, but today it's probably the 2-year warranty. If I'm wrong about that, well, somebody post it and I'll make sure that gets up the top of the list in the postings. It's very important, is warranty. I always raise that point. So now then, what's the Tony score? Well, I would give it a 9 out of 10. Not a 10 out of 10. There are a few things that could do with being improved. I'd love to have found that app. Things like that. They weren't easy to find. Well, I never found the one for the phone. I'm not saying they're not there, but it should be easier. The other thing I would want to raise the point about, and it's not a criticism, understand that, you do get your Sound Blaster little quick start guide. You can download that. I was looking for a manual for the software on a PC, you know, that I loaded up. And I couldn't actually find a manual anywhere. Now, Creative were happy enough to develop a manual for me. And I stopped them. I said, well, no, don't go writing manuals for me. That's very kind of them. But it's not necessary for me. I can get across what I need to get across to show you the device and the rest without a manual. It's relatively straightforward if you want the truth, but some of those features in that software have names that some people won't be familiar with. And if you don't play games, for example, you might find some of those features were a little bit, I wonder what that does. And it wasn't immediately obvious for some of them. In particular, the surround thing for the games. That was a bit strange. So that's why I give it a 9 out of 10. But that's an extremely good score from me. Remember, my reviews are absolutely, totally real. Oh, hey, don't forget to subscribe, will you? I do lots of different types of equipment. This is just one. I cover guitar amps, guitars, lots of guitar-related stuff, but also studio-related stuff and that sort of thing. And this is just one device, but it's an interesting device. It's something different I wanted to show my guitarist friends and studio guys and people like that. But you know, if you play games or you're an audiophile and all that sort of thing, you should really have a look at this. But I need subscribers. Subscribers will help my channel to get you some more gear and things like that. I normally buy everything. This time I didn't. They did send it, but it's a real review. Just trust me on that. And you do your thumbs up thing. That's the other thing. And, you know, tick the box for notifications, really. And if you tick all, you'll get them all. But I don't send many out. I literally am doing one review a week, typically. So you're not going to be inundated from me. I'm not going to harass you with hundreds of emails coming to you. I don't do that, really. I might reply to a post. I reply to lots of posts because I think somebody can post to me. I've got to have the courtesy to come back to you. If I can answer it, I will. If I can't answer any query, well, I'll just do my best to do that. So that's it for now, really. It's an interesting device as this one. I've never seen anything quite as nice as this. You know, Creative Labs make some quite good gear. I've looked at one earlier on. It's down in the text, as are all the links and the rest of it for this with Creative. And, you know, it should be interesting. Go and have a look at the stuff. Even if you're not buying it, go and have a look because you'll learn a lot from, you know, investigating the product a bit further. And if you don't like this one, well, remember there is a whole plethora of other Creative Sound Blaster products, one which might suit you better. And I know that the previous one I looked at, my grandson thinks it's awesome. But he would. That's what he does, you know. It's like anything, isn't it? It's got to be what you want and not what you don't want. So you can, you know, fish around there until you find a device that's great for you. And I'm sure that Creative Labs will have something for you. No question in my mind. Anyway, I hope it's all been good. Don't forget to have a whip across to www.tonymackenzie.com if you get a chance. It's a website that's been around since about 2009. It's got loads of stuff on it, all generally guitar studio type of things in there, and they're all unbiased reviews. So, yeah, could be good for you, might not be. I've been harping on a long time on this one, and I wanted to show you the ins and outs. I can't easily show you the sounds, but just take my word for it, they are exceptional. Till next time, get out of here.